Welcome to Booked, the bookstore education podcast brought to you by the American Booksellers Association. In this episode, we'll be listening to Curating for Readers, Not Categories, a session that was presented at Winter Institute 2026 in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Greetings. It's 3 o'clock on the last day, y'all. You made it. So I know you've all seen and heard these first slides a few times, so please bear with me. This will hopefully be the only time we're actually reading from the slides, knowing that all of you are indeed readers of your own merit and able to do this on your own. You are curating for readers, not categories. And my thing stopped working.
Try just doing the.
Yeah.
Does that work?
No, we're frozen. It was working a second ago. Okay. So we'll cover some of it before they get back. Just remember that there will be someone with a mic at the end of the session. Don't ask questions until you have the mic. This is an accessibility issue and being recorded. We want to make sure that people who aren't here are able to hear your fabulous wonder. We want to thank Ingram, the lead sponsor of this fabulous event, and all of our other publisher sponsors who you are not able to see on the screen at the moment. Well, I didn't restart the computer, so. If you're all familiar with, oh, hey, you did something. Okay.
There you go.
Good. Yeah, don't forget to do your survey at the end. You all know how to be an audience. Antitrust guidelines. I don't think any of this really applies to what we're going to be talking about, but if you guys go rogue, we will stop you. All right, and the goal of this session, you're going to recognize emerging and hybrid genres and understand how readers are engaging with them. I think romantasy is at the forefront of everybody's changes recently, but there are other things going on. You're gonna think about practical ways to organize your store around the people who are doing the reading and buying of your books, and apply flexible curation strategies because stuff changes. All right, so, that's what we're doing. We're gonna do that. So introductions. I am Carrie Kepke. I'm from Skylark Bookshop in Columbia, Missouri. And whoops, we do not have Sky with us today, unfortunately.
I'm Jennifer Hill from Powell's Books in Portland, Oregon.
And I'm Bren Lopez from Children's Book World in Los Angeles.
Excellent. So we have, very different stores, sizes, curations, etc. So hopefully that will lend some variation for all of you who also have very different stores from ours. Our first discussion is readers versus categories, and why are we considering doing this? The importance of what we do as indies in regards to both book and community awareness is defining in what we all do. We'll get to the specific what in a minute, but let's start by sharing some reasons for how you label sections or display books matters more now than ever. Jennifer, you want to start?
Oh, sure. I think as you've all seen in the frontlist catalogs, there's a lot more blending of genres of things, which I'm sure has made for some confusing situations on where to put it. So at Powell's, we have stuck with the major categories that we always have. We are slow to make changes when it comes to new sections in our stores. But we've had a lot of discussions about whether something that's cozy horror needs to go to horror or a different section depending on what it was. And I will say what we tend to do for that situation is we rely on our booksellers to make theme displays in our stores. So we have a place to try everything out, see what our customers are looking for and purchasing from us.
So if any of you were at the very, very first session that we actually had, and I got to be up talking with Allison about the joy of reading, and why it's so important, and breaking down categories to be able to have the reader be, that reader discovery that we're talking about, to develop the joy of reading. What I loved about this entire institute was, then the next day we had LeVar Burton, and he was talking about the joy of reading. And the next day we had the 4 authors, and they were all talking about how important the joy of reading was for them. And then if you just went to Circana was everything that we had just talked about the experience of being able to have your customer come in and discover something about how they're feeling at that moment, what they're searching to find. And most of the time what we get is, repeating again, we're locked into categories, sections, things that are defined by BISAC categories, by librarians, by teachers in terms of what they want the kids to read. And that is not how parents and kids who are in a rush, that's not actually how they find books now. And so it's up to us to be able to break through those, not even with labeling. I don't actually even like to use words on labels anymore. I actually have been doing, going onto Canva and choosing images. So we've got a Medusa head and some other images on our mythology section. We have different images like emojis so that kids are responding to that. That's something they're already doing on their phone, right? So that's a way that they respond to the section that they're in. But also thinking about breaking through all of it. So I used it as an example, how many people have read Free Period, the book about period equity. It's one of the funniest books. If you do not have it, it's one of my favorite books of last year. It is so great. But in it, the young girls who are pranksters who decide that this is going to be their big goal, they knit uteruses in their goal to be able to get period equity inside this middle school for all students. And so we moved that book over into our Klutz knitting and crocheting area, which is mostly some young women who are picking it up. Then the book started to sell over in that section. And we did the same thing for different time travel books over in space. Just rethinking about why we have something just in one place, moving middle grade books and fiction that would be a natural fit for kids who are reading Dogman and Investigators to be near them in graphic novels, because they're not going to go to that other wall. They're already there, so we need to meet them where they're actually at.
That's fabulous. We have a lot of customers that make us hyper aware that people come into independent bookstores not to buy a book, but to discover something. And so those cues are so critical. We have customers ask for what's a book that makes you feel orange? So thinking like outside of the norm categories is critical, because that's what people are seeking, like knowing.
This image that's up there, you see on the thing, that is actually our sport, one part of our sports section, but that's our nonfiction sports. We took all of our sports fiction out of fiction and put it in sports. Those kids would never go over to my wall and look alphabetically by the last name of the author to find those books. We put them there. They fly off of our shelves. They're coming back for more things. They're doing Jason Reynolds, they're doing Kwame Alexander, they're doing, and we actually mix it up from early to YA to middle grade, because kids read up and read down, and they are so hugely popular now because they're actually where the kids would go and look, who would be interested in them, actually go look for them.
And the freedom to do that the school libraries do not have and their educators do not have is very liberating. Embrace what you have the power to do for your customers. It's absolutely fabulous. So that's kind of the importance of why you need to be thinking outside of fiction, mystery, nonfiction. And I think we already kind of dipped. Oh, this is a new slide. Crossovers. Oh, yeah, hey, cool. This is one of our displays where one of my staff she wanted to do a horror display and pulled from several different genres because she knew customers would read all of those books no matter their age. We've got everything from CFIC to adult in there. And I don't know who's the other picture.
I can't see it from here.
I don't know. Yeah.
I think that might be from your store.
I think that's you. Yeah.
No.
Nope. Okay, cool. They found that one.
Thank
All
you.
right. All right, so genre blending is also another thing. So we talked about like knowing your community and serving them. There's also just what we are receiving, that genres are diversifying, and what we're getting from the publishers almost creates a demand because it's packed with these other things. So sometimes creating an entire new genre on your floor, or taking something that you think is one section and turning it into several. Would you like to talk about horror a little bit? Was that you? That was you. Thank you. Yeah, please.
Hi, sorry. So when it comes to horror right now, the genre is expanding greatly. We've got things like cozy horror. Most recently, I saw horror fantasy, which is, horror, romance, and fantasy all in one. And so it becomes a really interesting subset where you have to figure out, if you're keeping traditional like genre designation, then you need to figure out where it lives and who will actually want to read it, because a horror person who's looking for that may not be interested in the other aspects. And so if you have the space and the ability to explore, I always think it's really cool to create like displays in order to showcase the different subsects of genres. But like if you have the ability to create more designation within your section, it's definitely reaching a point where there is enough to actually have cozy horror sections and like light horror sections, divide them by thriller, supernatural, things like that. Like it's becoming a very broad section. So it really depends how you want to organize your store and how you believe your customers will interact with it. So yeah, it's really interesting right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, that's
Sorry.
perfect. No, that's great. And then I think we respond specifically to the children's categorizations, where we have removed a lot of the typical genres. What we've done in our store is we spent about 3 months paying attention to the parents and adults that were coming in and saying, I need something about cars, or I need something, my kid's obsessed with birds. So we took all of those obsessive categories, and that's how our picture books are arranged now. It's things that fly, things that go, oh my, for like dinosaurs and unicorns. And you do something similar.
Well, we do. In terms of genre, I start with like mystery thriller. I start with Encyclopedia Brown, and we end at the end with YA thrillers as well. And there's middle grade in between. I don't separate into different sections. It's not my job to be able to do that. Kids read up. They always read up to the next section. And I want them to be able to discover it there. I don't want that to be I will have conversations. I'm not going to put anything there that is actually 15, 16 and up. But if it's not, then I am actually okay with it going that way. But I really don't like negative language. So the prime example for me is I hate the word reluctant readers. I use the word undiscovered readers, because undiscovered is a positive idea about what they haven't opened the door yet. They haven't found the way through. And I hate clean teen. I despise it with a passion. So we have actually created, and this is for, and we're not a YA store, really. We're not. No teen wants to go to a place called Children's Book World. And also teens, yeah, I bet most of you, even if you do have YA, it's adults buying YA or middle grade buying up. Teens are so busy, they very rarely have the opportunity to be able to come in and shop in your store for that. But we had our first bookstore romance day in August at Children's Book World, and we decided to redefine the genres through a mood. And so instead of using the clean teen, because that's a very popular part of it, the tween, teen, no spice, that's our sunshine romance section. So sunshine romance, like the kids got it right away. We didn't need to explain anything. Sunshine meant that, they were just going to have a good time. It was friends sort of flirting with each other. And then we add heat. Heat is not what you think it would actually be. Heat was actually all of those, I hate you, I love you, I hate you, I love you. Oh, I love you. Those kinds of books that we kids love. And then Fire, which was more of the romantasy, the action. But what it allowed was not even the word romance being used at all. It was just sunshine, fire, heat. And they could just sort of go and explore through it. Even it took away some of the gender things too. Like people could just go and explore that section and find a book that they would enjoy, where they weren't being defined by the genre.
Okay, we all know that when you decide to create a new genre or rearrange your store, it cascades very quickly, and suddenly everything is on the floor. You have nothing on the shelf, and nobody knows where anything is. A great place to start are displays. This is books like this sorts of displays. We have a dedicated display in our store called the Get to Know section, where we test market categories. And we alternate a category that we've just had a lot of inquiry about, financial bro books, or whatever it is, and then we create a little description of, hey, this is what's up here, see how it goes, and we alternate that with small press displays like, hey, get to know Biblioasis, here's all of the things that they typically offer, and then this is their logo, find this on the spine everywhere around the store. This is one of your displays and one of your displays. Yeah.
At our store, we try to have a variety of displays. We have a wonderful display manager, Sabina, who helps our other curators to explore different things. We have a poetry display that changes monthly. We have a sort of political display that changes monthly. And then on the main floor and upstairs, both have displays. And so it's really fun. We get to either define things by where they're located in the store, or we just explore new things entirely. We've started moving books that are generally fiction down to our basement floor as a way that Sabina's exploring if our store is actually defined by the sectioning of nonfiction and fiction. And it's just really exciting to see that customers aren't as bound by that as we thought they were. So I think curation and having displays is a wonderful way for stores to explore things beyond like genre designation.
Yeah, curation is ever evolving for yourself and your customers. And then you've already spoken about this, just about younger readers being drawn to emotional and thematic concepts instead of actual labels. Let's see, genre sections and displays. So how do you determine when it's time to make a display or time to change a category? These are some of the ways, but what are some of the key things you guys have noticed in your store that made you make a jump?
So we definitely pay a lot of attention to sales data by either noticing things that are just selling more in our inventory team, knocking that out, or just by watching what our customers are doing when they're in the store, what they are asking for, and then going back and, of course, looking at the numbers to correlate that, because, again, your numbers are going to be the most important thing. That is the only way you're going to be sure when you make any decision. But it's a lot of just paying attention and engaging with the customers and noticing what they are doing when they come in. Like, are they immediately asking for certain things? Like when romance started popping off, we did not have a romance section. And I remember so many people came in asking for, especially Colleen Hoover at the time, but they were always asking. And so we ended up making one. And now it's one of our best genres. And we've been expanding more and more since then in like how we navigate the store based on what people are asking for. Jennifer?
I would say that we do that sort of stuff as well. Definitely keep an eye on the numbers, what customers are asking for. We also try to be aware of things that we're seeing in the catalogs and how they are flagged by our sales reps to look for any trends. Like in this last year, there's been a lot of books about boat disasters. And so who knew that was going to be a thing? So we can put those out on a shelf, put a shelf talker on them. And so we're very easily send people to that place to look for those kinds of books.
Do you have an entire bay for boat disasters?
Not right now.
Yeah,
No.
that's a
But we
smaller
may
section.
by the next-
Yeah,
by the
you
end of the
might.
year.
True.
I do all the buying, front list buying for my store. And so my number one criteria in anything that I do related to kids' books, and I've been doing it for a long time, over 30 years plus, is do kids want to read this book? That is my number one. My priority is never will grandmothers buy this book for their kid, their grandkid. Because if you go in that direction, you may actually even make more sales, but they'll always be with new customers, not the old customers coming back because you introduced them to a story that was the greatest story they ever read. Mm-hmm. And so it's always about the kids to me. That is the best arbiter. I don't even need to go do the sales sheets because I'll know based off of the enthusiasm that the kids who come back over and over again. We had an event with Gordon Corman, and I've shown a couple people the pictures of, 30 or 40 kids all holding up all of their Gordon Corman books. And yes, Gordon Corman is popular. Gordon Corman never wins any awards. When is the last time you saw Gordon Corman win any kind of award whatsoever? What award does he win? He is like the favorite author of kids who go back and read over and over and over again. I mentioned it in the first talk about why kids reread the books is because they're re-engaging with the story, because they have no one to talk with about the story. And so most of the conversations I have to have are with the parents. Well, he's rereading the book for the fourth or fifth time, and that's because he has no one to talk to about the book. When he's sleeping, go take the book, or she's sleeping, take the book, read it, surprise them in the morning, say, oh, I read your book, it was really, really good. You start having a conversation with your child about reading. How many of you, as booksellers, still read the same, you give your parent a book and you still read with your parent that way? I still do. I mean, it's a lifetime history that we've had. And you can have conversations with your kids about things that are going on in life through a book that they would completely look at you with side eye if you tried to bring it up under normal circumstances. So it's more than just the book itself. It's about this experience that you're creating. And the kids are already there. You have to train the parents. And you have to have those hard conversations with parents when they come into your store. I'm sorry, but if a parent ever tells you, this is my good reader and this is my horrible reader, you need to have a conversation with, pull them aside or whatever. That's horrible. That's like the worst possible thing. And it's those hard conversations that will make a difference.
Very, very true. Some of the things that are not on here is just the importance of engaging with your community. And that's not just your customers. Are you talking to your school librarians? What are the kids obsessed with that they are reading over and over and they're having to restock? What are the professors teaching? Like, are your professors creating Gothic mystery courses because that's what the students desire? Like, really engage with your community, find out what the obsessions are, and that can help lead your curation. Gosh, we talked to the sororities, which, it's people you don't think to engage with, but you find these things that everybody's obsessed with. You create a display for it. It's gone. It's magic, and I love it.
Yeah.
All right,
And talk to your teachers about changing their book lists. I mean, they've got the same book list that they've had forever. And if they're teaching Little House on the Prairie, which we all know is a really complicated book, then why don't they add Prairie Lotus at the same time as they add Little House on the Prairie? If they're doing Peter Pan, why don't you add Sisters of the Never Sea at the same time? So you're being able to open that up. If you're doing Jane Austen, why don't you do Tears of Price's Sense and Second Degree Murder as well? I mean, so it's about bringing fun ways. For them, it's actually a good thing. That's how you develop these readers in the actual, on the school list too, because you've taken a traditional thing that they might be hesitant to have to do. They got to do a report on it, and all of a sudden you're introducing a genre version of that story that may make it more engaging for them in the long run.
On this slide here, you see one of our displays, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with the need for this display at the moment. You'll also notice that the header on the section below is not called romance. As our romance section shifts, 5 years ago, we had a high demand for, Jan Karen kind of romances. That's not the same thing that we are selling right now. The category is the same. The label has changed to Love and Lust. So as our market shifts, we change what the people see to test that and go with what matters at the moment. And sometimes it's those tiny displays to see which ones fly and which ones don't. How do you guys utilize rotation of displays to maximize your ability to test?
So on top of the displays that we already have that are monthly rotation, we have a small table both upstairs and downstairs, which are changed more weekly, bi-weekly, just to kind of test out what people are interested in or to touch on things that are current at the moment, but we are not able to dedicate a full space to. Generally, it's curated by Sabina, but we also get input from our booksellers about what they think at the moment should get some focus. And if there's like extended interest in it, sometimes that can grow into a larger display. We are sticking to fairly traditional genre right this moment, but that's why we love to explore through our displays and having that aspect of the store.
And how big is your store?
We are 3 levels and we have 25 or more employees. I'm not sure.
So you've got these pocketed everywhere.
Yes, we have so many pockets for exploring without like completely changing the store. I think currently we're more comfortable with the traditional dynamic, but it doesn't limit us because we have so much space. With smaller stores, I totally understand why it's much easier just to give a whole space to it and be like, let's see what happens.
Yeah. Jennifer, do you do any test rotations?
Most of our displays stay up for a while because they're generally, we put a lot of titles on there, but it is nice. We have lots of different voices from the booksellers that work at the stores to pick the themes that they want to focus on and look for title lists. And then our buying team helps with the selection of those depending on what's available or not available. So we can, and some that stay up for longer, we will rotate some titles in and out just to keep them fresher for folks coming in.
We have a very small store. I say very small. It's 3,000 square feet. It's decent. But that does limit us in our display ability. So one of the things we do is we change our window display every single morning. And that gives us an opportunity. We just have shelves facing the window. We switch out a dozen books every morning, say what it's called and why we have it pulled together. And then we just watch at the end of the day how many of those books are left, or how much interaction is on the social media page. And if they fly and there's a lot of interaction, we need to do something bigger for that topic. Sometimes we do really weird topics like books with feet on them, and that's not going to do anything, but it's fun. Sometimes we do other topics that actually really grip people. It's hard to do every single day, but it's totally worth it when you have a space to do that with. And it can just be like a book at the checkout counter, like have your staff have a book on display when they are checking people out that they can talk about and see how that increases the sale of that title.
Yeah. I wanted to talk about something that Brenna, it involves what we're talking about, but what Brenna was talking about with the rise in books, religious books or spiritual books, and what she was talking about. This is very much a part of what's happening inside our store, but it's not just like one type of story. In fact, probably the lowest selling for our particular store, because of where we're at in Los Angeles, would be the traditional Christian books. For us, right now, because we're finishing February, we've got our Black History Month display up, we've got Lunar New Year, we have Ramadan, we have Passover, we have Easter, we have Holi, we have, and Nowruz, the Persian New Year. So those are all up. But what happens, and we celebrate all of those, by the way, we have a Passover event, we have a Ramadan event, we have a Nowruz event, we had a Kwanzaa event. Initially, we were sort of like, what's going to happen? What's happened is all the people who celebrated the Passover event, all the families who came in for that, came to the Ramadan event, came to the Nowruz event, came to the Kwanzaa event. And so then that spiritual thing that you're talking about is all coming together. Your store then becomes that safe place that we've been talking about all week long. And it's not a difficult thing to be able to do. And you never really know. You think you know because we have ideas of stereotypes in our heads about what a person who celebrates Ramadan or a person who celebrates Passover might, want or need. And that's really not it. But they do want to be seen. And so when everybody sees themselves, they see each other. And that's why that's happening.
I'm going to breeze past this knowing when a trend has earned a permanent home just by saying, learn how to use your data. Talk to your POS people, figure out how to analyze your sales and your reports to know when you need to do something. Your POSs are all different, so we can't tell you how to do that. Okay, intention, values, and inclusion. So something we do at our store is always fall back on our values and mission statements to make our decisions. And when we opened, we decided we were going to have zero segregation. So we do not have an LGBTQ section because that's in every single section in our store. But we also know that we need customers to be able to find those books. So we have washi tape on the top binding for we have codes, and we have a code master at the front of the store, and people can look for rainbow washi tape in the entire store and know that those books are LGBTQ, and as part of the receiving process. It happens really organically at this point. It was rough at start, but great now. We also use it for banned books. I mean, it's anything that you realize your customers are seeking that maybe you don't have the space or it doesn't fit how you decide your store exists. There are ways around it without actually creating a display. So I'd love to hear more ways you guys have broken the rules of creating sections.
I think that, again, I'm going to go back to our displays, because we definitely explore with our sectioning through genre, but mostly those are slow changes because we like to take in the input of our all of our coworkers and our customers and understand what they go to and how they already interact with our store as it's been for the last 13 years. And so we definitely break rules a lot more when it comes to our displays. So sorry, I have bronchitis. So a lot of it has to do with finding display themes that allow us to pull books from all different walks of the store and can expose people to different genres that they maybe would not look for because they like that theme. Like just having the ability to be like, oh, here's a bunch of books about Michigan. Here's a bunch of books about messed up families. And maybe someone will find for the first time a Gothic that they love. Or maybe they'll be piqued by a nonfiction when they don't read that. And so our curation really puts a lot of effort into getting people to see things that they wouldn't traditionally because of where they tend to go in the store. And like, again, we've started putting books on different floors than they normally go. So a lot of our exploration is through that. And it's been a really cool change in the last year since our display manager decided to start changing things around and has been having a lot more input from us about what we think should have displays and giving us more room to play and like explore what we enjoy and what we think our customers would have fun with, instead of just being like, this month is this month is that. And it's been really, really fun for everyone because we all get to be involved. And I think our customers really love it. Our displays are doing fantastic. And I do think it is breaking the rules in helping them break out of their own rules.
Love that. And you already spoke quite a bit about how you break the rules, so we're going to plow ahead.
Okay. Can I just say one
say
quick
one
thing? Because we're coming up. Because we're coming up to America 250, right? I mean, that's the whole thing. I can't stress enough. You sort of already mentioned it, but break out those. We have like a U.S. history section, and then we break in. People have this section, and then this section. There's the Japanese internment over here. There's immigration over here. There's all these different sections. All of those sections belong in U.S. history. Our Native American Indigenous section is the beginning of our U.S. history section, and it goes through the timeline so that they're all in the section. That is America 250, is every single person's story being recognized, labor, women's suffrage, all of it in line with everybody represented in the storyline and not just the presidents and all the other stuff.
Okay. Yeah. So the biggest part of this is figuring out how to get your customers to understand what you're doing and your staff, because I was speaking to somebody 2 hours ago, didn't even know I was doing this panel, and they said, we keep trying to break our YA section up, but my staff keeps shelving everything wrong. Like, do they know what you did? Like, did you guys sit down and explain it? Did they buy into it? And that's so critical. So I'd love to know how you guys ensure your staff is committed to the changes, or at least committed to trying the changes, and how you explain the changes to your customers?
So before we make any huge genre change, our managers and floor buyers and everyone will reach out to the staff to get their input on the impending changes. We explored some changes last time, I believe, that not everyone agreed on, and we ended up finding a better middle ground that helped with actually like defining things. And even when you guys all agree, there will still be like sore spots. I believe we ended up changing our women's section and our LGBTQ section around a year or two ago. And then I came across abortion books. And I was like, well, they kind of live everywhere. And so we ended up moving them to sociology because that can cover that. And so like, it's very much like being open to the ways that it's going to be a sore spot, but making sure there's so much communication both to and from, because otherwise there's going to be feelings about it and there's going to be confusion about it.
Jennifer, you use these to communicate with your customers.
We
These
do, yeah.
So good.
So we make a lot of title recommendation lists for our customers. And if you haven't been to Powell's, our main store is giant, and we have 7 different rooms. So each room focuses on their own areas of titles that customers come in asking for regularly. And so there's some examples up on the slide there. And that helps our booksellers hand sell to customers, and especially for even if they don't know anything about the topic that the customer is asking for, it's a good resource for them. And we leave all the bookmarks out so people can take them as they want to. So any room that they go into in the store, they can pick up different bookmarks on different topics. And it's a way to kind of curate those books without putting them into display, but having them available for everybody all year round.
And our best example of staff engagement was making sure that they were empowered. And when we opened, we had a section called Wake, which was very critical when we opened. It became less critical and it was not thriving. So we did move those books to sociology where people were looking for them. And when our staff came to us and said, hey, I think our customers need those all in one place again, we listened and we moved it. So making sure that they knew their on the floor experience was different from mine, and trusting their engagement with the customers and saying, oh, I believe you, let's try this and see if it succeeds again, is critical.
My flight leaves in an hour and a half, so I'm actually going to go right now at this very, very moment. But I just wanted to say, just wrap it all up from everything that I've been, that we've been talking about all week. There are no rules. The only rules are the ones that you've got up here. That, and if it fails when you try something, then do something else. It doesn't matter. What matters are the people who read the books. That's what matters. And making sure that they love your store and they feel safe in your store and they trust you to be their bookseller, because you're changing their lives. We've been in Los Angeles for 40 years. The people who grew up at our bookstore have become filmmakers, have become, documentarians, have become authors, have become all of these other things. And I know that it all started with the books that they got in our store 40, 35 years ago. And that's a beautiful gift that you have, like a priesthood in its own particular way. And you should all be very proud of yourselves. I've loved spending the week here with all of you, and I know so many of you out there. For those of you who don't, if you ever have questions, just send an email to my store, childrensbookworld.com. I will always answer an email and help you as much as possible. And I will see you all, hopefully, in Schaumburg, Illinois for Children's Institute. So thank you all.
A little sneak leak there. All right. So getting your staff engaged is communicating with them. Your customers are going to be your feedback. So how do you guys make sure you're looking at your data, your customers, your staff, as well as your purpose in the store to finalize your decisions?
I think that we're all very aware in our store of where we belong with social issues and what message we want to get across with our store. And so it's not really a hard thing for us. We're all very much on the same page, but we like to pay attention to what's current going on in the world, to be engaged in the conversation in general. We stay aware of what's going on the campus near us because we're in Ann Arbor, and so we're right by UM. And so it's mostly just being aware. I mean, there isn't much more to it. Obviously, you pay attention to your numbers, you pay attention to what customers are saying, like I said before, but that all just leads into keeping track of what's going on in the world around you.
Anything to add, Jennifer?
We're pretty data heavy at PALS when we look at stuff. So our buying team is constantly looking at numbers for the sections they're responsible for buying for. And to make sure that we are getting everything that we need. And we do solicit our booksellers for recommendations for titles if they have customers asking for things we haven't brought in. And we do respond to those quickly because we want to make sure that we have all the things as much as possible, have all the things our customers are looking for. We also use the Edelweiss Analytics to keep an eye on how the stores and our sections are doing specifically. Just lots of reporting, lots of numbers. We stay on top of all of that stuff.
I love that. And then, as he said, if it doesn't work, you change it.
Yep.
Exactly.
It's fine. We are indies for a reason. All right, so this is your call to action. We're recommending that you pick a section or display and make some new rules for yourself. Like, try something different from what you've done. No matter how silly or weird it might seem. If you're having trouble coming up with something, talk to other people in your store, talk to your customers, do a display with feet. I mean, I don't know. And see how it happens. We are going to remind you to fill out your survey. Probably, if you're like me, like all the surveys after you're like, I don't know, waiting for your plane. And then we're going to go ahead and do a Q&A. Make sure that the mic comes to you before you ask your question. And we'll do that. Oh, I love it. There's hands.
I wore my sneakers today.
Just a quick question for Jennifer. You were talking about the bookmarks that had the recommendations on them, and I thought that was really cool. I was wondering who decides what goes on the bookmarks and how often you guys update those?
The booksellers at the store create those title lists. And as far as how often they're changed, I think my best guess is every 4 to 6 months. So not all the time, because that's a lot of work.
So I'm super curious about grouping things in the kids section by the topics and things like that. How do you manage that from receiving to the shelving in terms of getting your staff to put it in the right place? Do you make a section in your database? And I'm a data geek, so I don't want anyone to fall asleep. But do you make a counting books section and then have author? How do you manage getting it in the right place and keeping it organized enough?
They are the categories used in our POS. So as I order books, I put them in the category I am pretty sure they belong in. And I strongly encourage my staff as they're shelving to not rush and to look at the book and say, actually, this is not about cats. It might have looked like a cat on Edelweiss, but it's actually a sloth. So that's going to go somewhere else. But really, it's right at ordering. The category is, so we have a code. It's a four-letter code. Picture books start with P, but that it's P dog, P fly, P go. So it makes it very simple for them to decode exactly. And it's also fabulous for inventory because the sections are so small and you get them, as my staff does, rolling inventory. Everything gets perfect quickly. I love it.
For displays and when you're taking recommendations from staff and trying to balance space and inventory, when the display goes down, how much is it returning things if you have quantities that didn't do well, or trying to filter that out at the beginning and use books as a buyer that sell usually that could just go in other places?
A lot. There's a lot of returning. There's a lot of redesignating to their sections. We pay attention to, I believe, the numbers and where they live traditionally and how they were doing in that section before the display, because we don't want to be like, oh, it was selling so well this month because it was on display. And so if we move it back with that expectation, it's not going to go. So it's really just analyzing based on how that book itself does and making sure that maybe you can keep one or two extra because it did just kind of, have a moment. Maybe you have space in the section to display it a little longer and give it some more longevity there. But otherwise, it's a lot of just our poor curator and our poor inventory team having to figure out what goes back, how many go back, and just piles and piles in our offices.
I have the benefit that I am all of those teams. So I don't have a lot of returns. I time the quantity of my orders to about the lifespan of a display. So my displays start selling out about the time they need to die.
Nice.
For us, with our buyers going through the title list that the booksellers want to put on them, we do look for things like, have we returned this book before? How have sales been? And if sales have not been strong and it's been returned, we'll ask them to pick another title because we do want those things that are going to move. And when it's over, we will move a lot of stuff back to the sections, but we do regular returns. So a lot of that stuff should go back out on the returns when that publisher is up on the return cycle.
I have a question. This has been so helpful. Thank you so much. I was thinking about one of my struggling sections, middle reader, and thinking about the section that does really, really well, graphic novels, as we all know. And I was thinking, well, what if I mix the two? Do you guys do that? Do you have any recommendations? What do you think of that idea?
I don't mix them, but why wouldn't you try?
Yeah.
See what happens.
We have a designated middle reader graphic novel space and a YA novel space that are on the same floor as our middle grade and YA. But if your space allows for it and you think that will help get kids to look at the books that aren't graphic novel because they have to look in that section anyways, why not try it? It might help the sales. If it doesn't, what's it going to hurt?
Yeah, you shouldn't be afraid to find out. If you've identified the issue and you identified a possible solution, you might as well test it. You'll know pretty quick if it's going to help or not. And I don't know how big the sections are for you or how much work that is, but you can calculate that in and do, or even do a tester display with the things together and see which ones move.
My question might be getting too technical for really to translate between stores, but I am trying to track how our displays books do, so that we can have a better sense of that. And I started to use Edelweiss collections and then realized that not multiple people can edit that, so it wasn't going to do what I wanted it to. Do you have any tips for ways to kind of just have that information, something that can be refreshed as you're refilling displays?
Yeah, we all do. Go ahead.
So I believe we just use the data from our POS system that is able to tell us how much the book is sold, and give us, I believe we create categories within the POS system for specific displays so that we can see the numbers for just those display books themselves. And so it's just kind of going through that. I don't know what your POS system is though, so I'm not really sure how feasible that is. A lot of it is labeling the books in system. We use Booklog. We're old babies.
Same. And it gives us a lot of freedom to make categories. As I make a display, it goes into that category, which helps my staff shelve properly. And before we break down a display, we run reports and get all the data for me to evaluate, and then they can build something new.
Yep, we do the same thing. And our inventory system is one that was made specifically for us. So
Fancy.
I don't know if I call it fancy, but it works for us.
I love it.
So
We have for middle grade an awards winner section and a classics section, and we've started mixing in the graphic novel versions of those things into there. But I haven't. It came up earlier before Bren left, but started moving in the more modern novelizations of classics into that space because they're not quite classics. But I wanted to know if any of you do that, shelve the Peter Pan kind of esque retellings with classics or keep them in your normal middle grade section. And if so, is it working for you?
So our middle grade section is not more divided than it would be generally. I personally don't see why you couldn't try that though. I feel like if people are looking for that specific type of story, then they might be excited to go from the classic to a retelling and like kind of get to explore that. It really depends on your middle grade audience. I'm definitely not very familiar with that because I'm our horror buyer, so that's my main cup. But I definitely think that retellings are having a large moment right now, and giving them more link to the classics, I don't see it doing any harm. But also, if it doesn't click in a month or two, just move them back to the regular section.
We're in a college town, so we do seasonal changes for those types of books. While the students are in town, those classics are in the classics section. During the summer when they go home, they go back to the kids because the kids are home for the summer and they are then looking at those things, but they're not looking during the school year. So they rotate.
For us, most of those middle reader classic titles, we just put in our middle reader section.
Are we good? You guys ready for a nap? You're fabulous. Okay, then I'm going to do... Oh, there's another question. Fabulous. No, great. We need a mic. No, please do.
No, we have time.
Yeah. We're still good. We have like 9 minutes.
There's another one
Yeah,
too.
this is great. We're good.
So, not just really a question, kind of more of a comment. As I tried some of this, especially in like my board book section. So I took everything out and I recategorized it by like animals and numbers and family love and values and like things that go. And so it took a long time, and we have WordStock, so another kind of older point of sale system. And we were able to like leave it as a board book code, but then just put in the comments where it went. My kids manager made like these adorable, like little picture shelf talkers for each section. We divided out. So now I see much faster turns because I was trying to think about, like, I didn't come from this industry originally. So I'm trying to think about how I would buy board books, and like gifts for young kids that I'm going to a baby shower or so, their kids are interested in this, or they have, their nursery is decorated with this type of theme. So I think and trying to carry that over now to all of my other categories in the kids department, it just kind of makes it refreshing to look at, and it's so much easier for the parents to shop. You see them like immediately, you will see an increase in your turns. It's unbelievable. So I just want to throw my 2 cents, and it works. So
Hello. Okay, so for a breakout section, it started to be pushed, by reps a year or so ago, new adult, the wonderful, ambiguous new adult section. I live and work in Austin, Texas. And as Bren said, young readers read up. So new adult, 18, 24, everyone has a different age range for it. Unfortunately, because of legislation, we're not able to put that section near teen. Where the young adult readers would be going to it. Therefore, we're having a lot of trouble because we built a very small part for it as a tester. It's not doing too well. Would you have like any advice on how to navigate this strange little new section that we're all figuring out?
Like hyper specific. We are in a college town. Therefore, we are dealing with our new adults. Our customers don't want that that want to be in the adult section and they want to be able to buy YA in that section. So we have the opposite problem. And I wonder if that would actually solve your problem if you bring those younger books into the older books and then they're just there. Excuse me.
We have the same situation. We don't really have readers that want a new adult section. I think people are getting a lot more comfortable shopping in the YA section when they're an adult. And I think teenagers have always loved to read up, and they will definitely be in the adult section no matter what. So especially with the legislation and the conflict that that's going to cause, which unfair, but it'll take the headache away. Just put them back and hope that people find what they need. Sadly.
Yeah, we just put all those books in the adult section.
They'll find them. Anyone else? Okay, like waiting a second. Our contact information is on the screen. Please write it down and email us with other questions when you get back to your store and you're staring and you're like, oh.
Thank you for listening to Booked, the bookstore education podcast brought to you by the American Booksellers Association. Don't forget to subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast app. Additional educational resources can always be found on the ABA site at www.bookweb.org. Happy reading!